Wow.
The,
Cheers.
the chat loves this. Just drink a beer, dude. This is incredibly feminine. Yeah, I don't drink at all, but whatever
It's
this is
delicious.
kind of gay, dude. It's turning me off right now. As a man, this is turning me off. I'm like, I think people who drink are gay now.
So, John, you kind of just outed yourself because that implies that you were turned on before, or normally are in a state of arousal.
Well, I was neutral.
So
No, I was neutral.
I'm kind of
and now
happy
I'm
that
negative.
I've turned you off now, John.
And I was neutral, and now I'm negative. Okay, it's different.
Sure. Alrighty. Excellent. Well, that will get me through hopefully the first hour of this stream. I'm smoking today a cigar called Free Will, which is kind of ironic considering I am a Presbyterian, but I do also believe in free will such as it is. But what is it? That is the question. So before we jump in, I have a couple opening remarks regarding doubt, of all things, which, yes, there is a connection to the name of this show. I have made a couple arguments up till now about how I think that doubt and faith are basically inseparable. That there will always be any coherent definition of doubt or of faith, I should say, will include some element of doubt. And I'm afraid that in some sense I've been misconstrued as being like pro-doubt. And that's what I want to challenge and perhaps correct today, because doubt is a serious thing, and it is in some sense a very negative thing. Which is why I tend to prefer the term uncertainty, because uncertainty is a state of mind, whereas doubt is actually much more of an action. In the same way that faith is much more of an action. We act in faith and we act in doubt, and the two are opposed, faith and doubt. Whereas uncertainty is something that is basically unavoidable, I believe, and is always going to be on this side of eternity a part of our state of mind, but we don't have to entertain that uncertainty with action that is geared towards that uncertainty and perpetuating doubt. Instead, we should actually act in faith in spite of our uncertainty, and that's a really courageous thing to do. So I guess one key example where we see doubt or this uncertainty and this opposing nature is in Mark 9:24, where you see the desperate father of a demon-possessed son say to Christ, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief." And I think that is the posture that we should have when it comes to our faith, and recognizing that there is a certain amount of unbelief and uncertainty, but hopefully that is diminishing, that hopefully we are combating that doubt through acting in faith and experiencing the love and continuing certainty that comes with our walk with God. An analogy that I think helps a little bit is on this side of eternity, doubt is to faith what sin is to our sanctification, right? The saving work of Christ making us perfect in us. On this side of eternity, I don't think that we're ever going to get there. And even if, in Orthodoxy and Catholicism, there are perhaps exceptions, notably the Virgin Mary, and perhaps even some saints, I think, have been, it's been said that they basically reached a level of perfection here on earth. I don't really buy that, but, and most Protestants don't. There are some Wesleyans who kind of would also say that that's at least possible. But even if it is possible, that's certainly the exception. So on the norm, we live in a state of sin on this side of eternity, right? And then in the future, we do enter into a state of glorification, at which point sin will be no more. And at that point as well, doubt will be no more. And I would argue that we really won't even need faith at that point, because faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. At that point, we will see. The veil will be removed, and we will no longer need faith. We will simply have certainty through, in the Western tradition, the beatific vision, right? We actually will see God in his essence, whereas in Orthodoxy, I think they don't necessarily buy into ever seeing God in his essence. It's more just always interacting with his energies, I believe. But in either way, you are seeing what is necessary to remove all of that doubt and uncertainty. So I think in this world, we will have doubts, we will have uncertainty, but we should press on in faith, in courage, and say, along with the man in Mark 9, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief." And that is in large part why I chose the name for this show regarding doubt, because I think that doubt is something that needs to be taken seriously. It needs to be regarded. It needs to be addressed. It is one of the fundamental aspects of all modern philosophy. It really starts with doubt. Descartes was essentially trying to prove God and prove Orthodox Christian principles by starting with doubt, right? Which is perhaps a bad way to go about understanding God. I think he took the wrong approach in many regards. And so we need to address doubt. We need to understand it and deal with it. But we shouldn't be celebrating it. And I just want to make it clear that I am not certainly celebrating doubt. I do believe that we are called to question, and that's not necessarily the same thing. But we see clearly in Scripture, the book of Habakkuk is essentially one long complaint to God. So we are called to question God, even perhaps to complain to God. We see this in the Psalms as well. And I think that that's, as long as we are doing so in a pursuit of a deeper faith, then that is merited, and I think that God will sanctify and redeem those doubts as he redeems all of our sins.